Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode here of Night Chats. Thank you guys so much for joining me here tonight. Hope you guys out there enjoyed your weekend as we come to a close here on a Sunday night. Get ready for another another go of it at the week. Another start of the grind. As tomorrow will be here before we know it, and we will once again be back on the never-ending journey of so-called life. The joys, having to pay bills, going to work. Just doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem like this is what life is supposed to be. I a lot of times I sit and I contemplate. Is it really worth it? I mean, is are all the fancy new things and the big TVs and the big fancy cars and all that stuff. Is it really worth it? Is it worth the amount of our life that we invest into basically slaving for a greater cause, for a greater good? I just don't think that's what we were put here for. I really don't think that's really what life's supposed to be all about. Now, don't get me wrong. As I said, it does require it. The world we live in now absolutely does require it. So no excuses need to be made for not doing it. But at the same time, I just feel like humans are supposed to be here to create. We're supposed to be here to explore, to 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 just, you know, put more back into society instead of taking so much. I feel like we should be spending more time with nature and you know just treating Earth as more as of a um as more of a you know a cooperative partner in the sense of things. Instead of just using up the Earth's resources like we do. Maybe utilizing what's out there naturally and what's available to us naturally that the Earth provides to us. And maybe that'd be a better way of subsistence. Maybe that would be a better way of maintaining, and not having to feel like we're doing so much damage to the earth that we live in. It's just I just don't think in any way, shape, or form this is the way things are supposed to be. Definitely think we as humans with our creative capabilities, I think if we had the time to be creative and to use our knowledge, for good, I think we could be in a far better place, if you ask me. But that would definitely require change and a drastic change at that. Um, but with that said, has that ever been the case? Have we ever been able to just be free? That's a question, like I said, that I ask myself a lot, and that's something that I want to take some time to talk about here tonight. So, what I've done is I put together a little bit of a video here, presentation. It's a little bit long; it's about 40 minutes long or so, but I think it's a great breakdown of the way things used to be, and it's a look and taking a peek into our past at things that have been kept from us that we're not necessarily aware of, that's not necessarily brought to the forefront when talking about our history. So I really hope you guys like this video. If you could please get those likes and those subscribes up, that's huge. If you are enjoying these videos, I want to continue to be able to bring them to you. So getting those likes, those subscribes up, that's going to be a huge part in that. So I thank you guys again for taking the time to join us here on Night Chats. And without further ado, we'll get to the video.
So, let's get started. Let's get to the fun and interesting part. I'm gonna first start off by trying to make you understand that there was an advanced civilization here in the past, which nobody in the so-called education system told you about. In mainstream history class, we are told that the ancient civilizations were uneducated and dumb-ass cavemen who like to hit each other with sticks, right? What if I said that couldn't be further from the truth? What if the mainstream history class were specifically designed to hide something from us? Something very important. A truth that reveals the whole fraudulent education system of the modern day alone. We are about to dive deep into the rabbit hole of a past advanced civilization, so buckle up. The evidence of their existence is all around us. The crazy part is how it was only hidden by words of lies. I'm gonna keep showing you pictures here of some buildings while I speak. But not just any kind of buildings. You will see that many of these buildings have a repeated architecture, and we can find them all across this realm. The United States, Europe, Little Norway, Africa, the Middle East, Russia, Japan, Australia. You get it, everywhere. And for that to be possible, all the civilizations across this realm at that time had to know each other and communicate with each other, right? But have you ever thought the thought that it could have been just one civilization everywhere? That's right, a civilization so huge, so well established and advanced that they built their buildings everywhere. And they were not just buildings. I believe them to be machines and electrical devices. Try to pay attention to the domes, spires, towers, columns, etc. of these buildings. I'm gonna tell you a little secret. Shh. If you look at the city from a bird's eye view and compare them with a circuit board on a computer, it looks identical. Identical. Here, let me show you. This is a city. This is a circuit board. This is another city. This is many circuit boards put together. Do you see it? Here's another one, just to make sure. Circuit board. City. Crazy, right? Previously, I mentioned that I believe these buildings to be machines and electrical components. When you look at the patterns of this universe with an open mind, you'll start to notice that everything looks electric. The human body, leaves, sea creatures, trees, and rivers, just to give some examples. Do these patterns mean that this universe and/or realm is all made up by electricity? Just think about it. Every living thing needs water and energy to be able to live. Energy. Here is a few quotes from Nikola Tesla, who mysteriously were removed from mainstream education systems. If you don't know who it is, I suggest you to look him up. It shouldn't be difficult. Quote 1. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Quote 2. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. Quote 3. Earth is a realm, it is not a planet. It is not an object, therefore it has no edge. Earth would be more easily defined as a system environment. Earth is also a machine, it is a Tesla coil. The sun and moon are powered wirelessly with the electromagnetic field, the aether. This field also suspends the celestial spheres with electromagnetic levitation. Electromagnetic levitation disproves gravity because the only force you need to counter is the electromagnetic force, not gravity. Though free to think and act, we are held together like stars in the firmament. Remember the word aether. It's gonna be handy for you later in this documentary. Not gonna say too much about Nikola Tesla in this video, but he was a scientist who was born in 1856 and he died in 1943. I believe him to have reinvented some of the technology from the old world. One of the most important inventions are the free energy from the ether, etheric energy that can be harnessed and stored completely for free. Listen, if this is true, then why the fuck are we using cabled electricity which we have to pay for? The answer is simple. Greed and power-hungry parasites have turned humanity into modern-day slaves. The worst part is, they don't even know they are slaves. This realm has become a huge mental asylum. It seems like the ancient civilization, which we call Tartaria, knew all about this place and how it works. I'll show you more of their architecture while I explain more. The parasites are using extremely big amounts of energy and effort to hide the intelligence of the past civilization from you. They want you to believe in the nonsensical evolution theory and how we are at the peak of human intelligence right now. This is false information. There is a big reason why they want you to believe in the nonsense theories like evolution and Big Bang. It is to make you feel insignificant and worthless. They want you to believe that you came from a cosmic accident and that your existence is pointless. Hopefully this documentary can help you to understand that you are in fact a divine being of consciousness. You are life itself, experiencing itself. And don't bring the popular so-called holy books into this way of thinking. Those are also mind control devices designed so you willingly give away your power to authorities like governments or made-up beings like invisible sky daddies in the clouds. People need to understand that no people can tell us what to do, whether it is some criminal pedophile in the government or some creepy sky wizard who are taking notes of your life and judging you. People need to understand that we are the only one who's here. Just look around. This place is for me, for you, and everybody else. Nobody owns this place. This is a realm, and this realm is supposed to provide everything we need. There is plenty of untouched and uninhabited land everywhere. Food can be grown everywhere, and clean water flows from the melted buildings all around us. Melted buildings? I'll get to that later. Listen, this is very simple. If there suddenly were no man-made laws or rules, would you have gone full Rambo and killed every guy you saw? Of course not. That's not what humans do. That's what mentally ill people do. That's what criminals do, whether we have these man-made constructs or not. I'm gonna give a little input on gun laws while we're at it. So, most people are not allowed to own guns, right? That means there is only two groups of people who will have guns: governments and criminals. But since the governments are criminals, it's really just one group of people. How do you defend yourself against insane people with guns when you don't have a gun? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Good. Now let's move on. Let's look at some more of these old buildings, so I can change your perception of reality the next time you take a walk through your town. 'cause I know you have seen these buildings before. You just need to look at them properly. Most of these buildings are said to be built in the late 1800s by the mainstream, but proper research says that's another lie. One reason is how there is zero photographs of the construction of these buildings, and cameras have existed since the mid-1800s. If you were able to build some of these magnificent buildings, and you had a camera lying around, wouldn't you be proud and maybe take a picture or two? Just see today, people are so proud of themselves that their phones have 210 extra pictures on the camera roll after a trip to the bathroom. Another thing that's weird with these kind of buildings is how almost all of them seems to be buried in what many people call mud. I'll show you some pictures. It seems that there have been an event here in the past that resulted in these buildings being buried and damaged, some of them more than others. And this event seems to have happened worldwide. Now, get ready for the really exciting part, because now we are gonna talk a little bit about how we think the old world empire were wiped out and erased from his story. We're also soon gonna look into the melted buildings, which is a mind blower if you got the mind capacity to understand it. This old world empire seems to have been around for thousands of years before they were wiped out. You'll hopefully soon understand what I mean by that. According to independent research, it seems like some cataclysmic event happened not that long ago, which got rid of the old world civilization and most of their buildings. We call it the X Factor event. It is believed that the parasites are the cause of this event. The old world were all based on love, peace and unity, and for some reason someone didn't like that construct. So they somehow managed to wipe out most of the Tartarian Empire so they could introduce their new world order, the hellhole we live in now. The hellhole where everything is based on tyranny, greed and slavery. These parasites seems to be feeding off of our pain, suffering and misery, which means they need to constantly create a living hell here to be able to survive. That's why we call them parasites, because they are just very parasitic. Who they are or where they came from is something I do not know, but I know that a beautiful world existed here before they were involved with us, and I'm gonna try to prove it for you. We have looked into some of the architecture of the old world. We're gonna look at it a bit more. Just now we're gonna look at the damage on these buildings. We have been distracted from this truth by movies, television, fake news stories, other lies, social media, politics, and video games. As I said earlier, the parasites are doing a lot of effort to make you forget to pay attention to your surroundings and your reality. Like I showed you earlier, this realm seems to be built like a circuit board on a computer, where the buildings acted as the components on this circuit board. A worldwide electric city, if you will. If you got the eyes to see, it is very clear that something crazy happened here in the past. I'll show you. Get ready and enjoy. Okay guys, are you ready to dive deep and listen to me trying to explain the destruction of the old world, what we call the X Factor event? So now I do the screen recording because I'm gonna do some drawing here eventually to point out different important sections of different photos. So this part of the documentary, when I do the screen recording like this, is not gonna be scripted like previously on the documentary. I haven't pre-written anything, I'm just gonna speak freely here. So
today, we will examine artifacts and architecture believed to have contained energy harnessing technology, which may have been used to collect and distribute electricity directly from the atmosphere. We will explore cathedrals designed to produce and resonate sonic frequencies beneficial to physical health and spiritual enlightenment. Over the years, these buildings have been modified and repurposed, and their technological capabilities lost to time. Some of these structures have been buried and forgotten. Others, along with this technology, have been intentionally eradicated. In this presentation, I will also provide visual evidence, historical narratives, critical analysis, and speculative questioning to explore different theories and hypotheses regarding these artifacts and structures. I'm also interested in your theories and hypotheses as well. Feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section. But remember, keep an open mind and respect the opinions of others as we explore these mysteries together. Different opinions are welcome, but hostility, insults, and closed-mindedness will not be tolerated. Now, on to the feature presentation. Architects of the Old World did not consider electricity merely as a utility, but as an essential component to life, just as the air we breathe and the water we drink. They used electricity and resonating frequencies to enhance physical health, wellness, and vitality. Not only could this technology lighten the night sky, but it could provide metaphysical, spiritual enlightenment as well. These dome buildings were ubiquitous throughout the world and were focal points of every World's Fair from the 1800s through the early 1900s. On top of these old world buildings, we often see metal rods or steeples. Steeples were types of antenna used to collect electricity from the atmosphere. Domes and steeples were originally clad in metals such as copper, gold, and other highly conductive materials. Pillars and other structural elements were then used as capacitors to store electricity. Most old world buildings we see around the world today have been significantly modified over time. Much of the precious metals have been stripped, and the energy harnessing components have been removed or modified. Onion domes, most commonly associated with Russia and Middle Eastern architecture, can also be found in other locations around the world. Onion domes generally consist of a metal cage, as well as some sort of rod running through this structure. The dome itself may have been more than just an aesthetic choice. Their capabilities could have acted as some sort of hollow resonators or energy amplifiers. When we look at some of these diagrams that break down the technical components of these buildings, we notice some claim to contain a substance known as red mercury. There have been debates for many years regarding red mercury and its unique properties, and if such a substance actually exists. During the Cold War, red mercury became headline news, with references to it first cropping up in major Soviet and Western media sources during the 1980s. In the US media, there were claims that it was a powerful catalyst the Soviets were using to amplify the destructive force of conventional explosives. There were also assertions that red mercury exhibited unusual thermal, magnetic, and radioactive properties. This substance was said to be found in very old television prototypes and other technology from the turn of the century. But around 2015, red mercury was once and for all proclaimed to be nothing more than a myth, and evidence of this substance nothing more than a hoax, according to all modern sources. Scam artists have made a lot of money selling a fake substance claiming to be red mercury. But does this mean red mercury does not exist? Is this substance being covered up and purposely dismissed by the media? What do you think? Leave your opinions in the comments section. When we examine old cathedrals, we notice the large archways, glass rose windows, vaulted ceilings with geometric patterns, and the massive steeples, which were most likely used to harness, store, and distribute electricity. But could there have been even more functionality to these buildings? Perhaps the window openings and ceiling patterns were more than just an aesthetic design choice. Could these elements have been used to direct and amplify cymatic frequencies and sound? Cymatics is a study of how sound and vibrations create visible patterns. It is fair to speculate that the architects of these old world buildings had great knowledge of the kinetic effects that each design would have. All sound has a frequency, and everything creates its own vibrational patterns. Even a completely silent room has its own sound. To test this theory, an independent researcher named Tanya Harris visited various churches around Europe and recorded the ambient sound of these buildings. After she recorded the silent room ambience, she amplified the recording and played it back through a cymatics device. Then she projected the sound through light and water to observe the patterns created by the frequency of each church. The patterns produced resemble the classic stained glass rose windows typically found in cathedrals. It is fair to speculate that cathedrals could have not only harnessed electricity from the atmosphere, but also been used to produce beneficial somatic frequencies. Exactly how these cathedrals projected sound vibrations has been lost to time. Originally, these buildings may have had no doors or windows, allowing the wind to cause a building to sing. Perhaps the window openings worked as speakers, which amplified sound from these cathedrals, allowing beneficial sound and harmonic frequencies to be broadcast throughout the land. Organs and bells may have been used to expand consciousness and provide vitality to the townspeople. If this is true, then entering the cathedral would be a much more powerful way to positively influence health and consciousness. Perhaps it could even heal wounds and cure diseases. It might sound far-fetched, but considering our bodies are made of water, we can speculate that patterns made through resonance of music and sound could be used to create healing patterns within us. And there is some scientific research that may actually verify these claims. Professor Sung-Chil Ji and John Stuart Reed of Rutgers University conducted an experiment in 2018 that concluded that red blood cells exposed to classical music had a significantly improved lifespan in comparison with blood cells that sat in silence. As evidenced by Tanya Harris's experiments, not all sounds need to be audible. Simply being near spaces or objects of somatics resonance may be enough to receive the amazing properties, frequency, vibrational patterns that contribute to health and vitality. And if this is true, then we can also speculate that the diabolical elite controlling the world today may use negative frequencies to keep us unhealthy and accelerate death. In a previous video of mine, I briefly mentioned an automobile that was powered by electricity, which was pulled from the atmosphere. Electric cars were the standard over 100 years ago, but this one was a bit different. Here's what the article stated. This car contained an electric generator that could take electricity from the air. To demonstrate, the inventors borrowed an old electric auto, took out the batteries, and replaced it with their new atmospheric generator, which allowed them to drive off at a high speed. They stated, There's nothing inside the drum that moves. The contents consist of iron, wire, and minerals. It can be used to drive any electrical apparatus and can be made in any size. The reason I'm mentioning it again in this video is because this technology may have been used in the past for other purposes as well. As we explore these next photos, I will provide minimal text to let the images speak for themselves. However, I would like to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comments section.
All right, guys. So there you go. I hope as you can see here that definitely more questions than answers. Um, as usual, when it comes to our history, just seems like a lot of our real history has been kept from us. I'd love to know why, you know, none of this stuff is being taught to us in school, and why we have to go on the internet to find out these things about quote unquote our history. You would think that that would be available to everyone, but just as in most of the cases, unfortunately, with our government and with the people in charge, it seems like it's been another way to manipulate us and to hold us down. But yeah, just some interesting stuff here for sure. When a lot of this stuff going back to Tartaria, is going way, way back to the 1800s and before. So this is like a whole time in history that we were basically told that it was the dark times, the medieval times, and I don't think necessarily that's all true. I think there was a big chunk of our history that's been kept from us, as evidenced by some of these things here, and um, just think some of these big buildings, that elaborate buildings that they're talking about, like these churches and these cathedrals and the architecture, the amazing architecture that went into these buildings. Um, why? Ask yourself why. Why would they put such intricate design into their work? Why would they? I think about the energy and the amount of time that would take us nowadays. And you'd have to ask yourself, why would they go through all that effort? And and then they start to talk about sound and frequency, and that sticks with me. That one quote from Nikola Tesla sticks with me. It's something that is easily right there to call upon in my mind, and it's the quote that he made saying, "If you want to know the secrets of life, it starts with sound, frequency, and vibration." The secrets of life start with sound, frequency, vibration. And as you can see in these videos that we just watched, that's a lot about what they're talking about in these videos. Um, healing, the effects that sound can have on healing. I mean, the studies that have been done already that have shown the effects on water, in particular, the effects on water, with feelings, with just feelings. If you they've done tests where they take a drop of water and they put it on a slide. They then take that slide and they put it under a microscope. They then have people circle around the microscope. They have someone viewing the little drop of water under the microscope, and they have everyone around that microscope think happy, loving thoughts, happy, loving feelings they generate. And wouldn't you know it, that drop under the microscope always turns out to be some magnificent symmetrical shape, like a intricately designed snowflake or star. It's just every time when there's positive thought and feeling, and that's all it takes is positive thought and feeling to go into viewing that drop of water, and it manifests that. And then on the other end of the spectrum, people gather around that same magnifying glass, same drop of water, and they think negative thoughts. They think, hateful, evil, just negative, dark thoughts. And every time they do that, that drop of water is just disembodied, is just in some maniacal shape. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just, our feelings and our thoughts are a lot more important than we think, and it shapes our reality in a lot more ways than we're aware. And just the simple fact that they used to have these buildings, and then think about the big organs in these cathedrals, in these churches. I mean, yeah, you had the bells, which just the bells alone, I can't imagine the vibration and what that could potentially do for healing effects, and just for moods and things like that. I can't imagine what the benefits could be to the bells and these things. But then the organs, these big organs, I mean, I firmly believe that they were using these buildings, just like they talk about in these videos, for healing, and just for positivity in general, along with energy. I think that's a if we look into it more, that's just it's a known fact that they were getting their energy from somewhere, and they weren't burning gas and burning oil like we do now. They were doing it naturally. And when you stop and look at these buildings again, these intricate buildings, I think, as you can see, I mean, they had to have served a bigger purpose. They just had to have. They to put that much time in, or who knows how they actually went about doing it, because there's no damn way they used a hammer and chisel to do that stuff. No way. So, how much time and such was put into it, I guess, depends on um, the method at which they used to build them. But in the same hand, no matter what, they did it for a reason. And I think they had to have had a good reason to do what they did. And then when you take sound and everything and take that into the equation, um, I think it definitely points to there being a benefit to this. And I think, as these videos shown, that's quite obvious. So, you know, as I said, just another example of our history being muddied, literally being muddied in this case. Um, muddied down and held back from us, so that we don't know that what's available to us naturally. And that's a lot of what's wrong with the world today, is we just continually take and take and take and take from the world, from the earth, and we don't give back. We just continue to take, and that's never a way to keep something established and to keep something going. It's at some point, something's got to give. You can't just keep taking. You gotta put back, and I think that's why the natural way of things that they had in the past, I think that's definitely the way to go. And the only reason I think you do it otherwise would be for power reasons. It would be for control, for money, for personal gain. And I think for far too long, we've been under a control mechanism. Government's supposed to work for us, for we the people, and not the other way around. And I think for too long, it's been the case. So, once again, everyone, I just want to thank you for joining Night Chats. I hope you enjoyed these videos. Make sure you hit those likes and subscribes. We got to get those up, because I really appreciate you guys watching these videos, and I want to continue to be able to bring you these videos. So if you're enjoying them, like I said, please hit that like, hit that subscribe. Do me a favor here on the channel. But we'll catch you next time here on Night Chats. Thanks, guys.